Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome to a best of 3 from the GSL, with Shin here in the bottom side of the map spawning as our red Zerg player, and on the top side of the map we have the man who's been making plays so far in the GSL. It's of course Stats, our Protoss hero, who, well, he's not really a hero. We also have an actual player called Hero, but he is, you know, the dude we're all looking to, saying, hey, there's another top Protoss player that might be capable of doing something here. As we see Shin opening up with, honestly, a build that I have never seen on this particular map before. And it's been a while since I've seen any type of strategy like this. It's going to be using the secret passage on this new map called Amphion to try and surprise his opponent. So what's happening over here? We have Stats with a late scout or a no scout. Usually you scout after Cybercore or you don't scout at all. So we're about to see what's going to happen here. I think if he no scouts, he just straight up loses the game. If you post Cybercore Scout, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but this seems extremely interesting. Shin mined out some of these mineral patches with his initial drones, I guess. Now he's going to send a couple of drones across the map to mine more of these mineral patches and then go for some type of spine crawler rush or maybe a link flood. I'm not entirely sure. He's going to make a big hole here as well, by the way. I hadn't quite expected that, but he believes that is the optimal way of doing things. As now starts with 8 links. It's gonna start taking these patches down. There we go. First 3 patches are now gone. Adept starts. That is fairly late as Stats is just scouting around, trying to figure out what's going on. He is moving into location to see that hatchery. I think he's figured it out as well. He wanted to spot or check the gold base. It ain't there. And now he's gonna see this proxy hatchery. I would love to see a couple of spine crawlers here, to be quite honest. Instead, we're getting a baling nest. A baling nest here for Shin, who's attacking with 3 drones as well. Legitimately drone rushing here. No speed quite done. This seems like such an odd early game to me. Such an odd early game, as this Adept is going to get cornered. This pylon is going to be in a little bit of trouble. It's going to be in a world of trouble here. It's going to get taken out. This is the only Adept that's going to be out on the map. And the moment speed finishes up, life is absolutely going to suck here for Stats, who, by the way, is getting a robotics facility and a Stargate. I'm not entirely sure about that Robo, because now that he's building the Robo, he doesn't quite have the money available to start a Stargate unit. Good control here on the initial probes, as well as the Adept, but a couple of Banelings are about to be morphed, and that's truly going to be an issue here, as the first 4 Banes are now on the way. This Nexus is under some heavy fire. 5 Banelings on the way. We have 2 batteries. There's 25 probes. And we finally have a Void Ray on the way. Now, the Void Ray is definitely going to be helping out. Here come the Banes. Is he going to try to block with his Adept? Yes, he is. Do we have a super battery available? Yes, we do. As the pylon is going to get bursted down, I think, by Banelings there. With the splash of the Baneling. 10, 12 workers going down. But for now, Stats stays alive. Adept is gonna fall. That means that every single link that's gonna get in towards the main base at this point is gonna be capable of dealing quite a bit of damage. These 2 batteries are gonna be repowered. Stargate is about to be repowered as well. More and more links here are on the way. We have a new Baneling in production. This Void Ray is, well, more than 75% done at this point. And that could potentially mean that Stats is going to stabilize, because Shin, he doesn't really have so much firepower anymore. He's lacking units. Doesn't have that many links at all. Does he not have a queen? He does not have a queen. He continued mining gas, which means he had way less minerals than you usually have with this type of build. So we see him not necessarily struggling to spend his money, but without queens, you just don't have that many larvae. He also hasn't quite killed this Nexus on the low ground. There's 2 Overlords that rallied across the map. A third one now is desperately trying to get back home. This is actually extremely scary here for Shin. The player formerly known as Ragnarok is probably just in, well, not a bit of trouble. He's in serious trouble. It's going to be 1 base versus 2 base. We have an Immortal on the way, which is going to be helpful. Banelings try to move him forward. Void Ray is making sure that these links can't enter. Here come the Banes. But with this Immortal, I guess it depends a little where the Banes are trying to go. And we see an immediate pull here away on those probes, but 1 Baneling does get to hit. Good. Oh my god, some great maneuvering here with these probes. Only 2 have fallen. Is a third one gonna go down as well? I think the answer might just be no. As now we have our first wave of drones coming in. Potentially a 3rd base. Don't forget, we don't even have a queen yet, which is just such a serious issue here. More Void Rays just carelessly being rallied across the map. That's going to be Void Raid Overlord number 3. This is going to be Overlord number 4 if Stats does see it, and he does see it because Stats does not miss. Now, he's still in a tricky situation because he only has very limited units, although I say that. He has an Immortal, an Adept, and batteries. I feel like that's all he really needs. Yes, everything is open, but if Shin continues building links here, it means Shin won't have any workers. If Shin continues building drones, it means that this base is going to be safe. And that means that Stats is actually up a base and is going to be up a base for at least the next 30 seconds or so. I feel like those banelings really didn't contribute very much. I much would have preferred seeing more focus on mineral mining, just kind of a pure link flood with queens. That would have given you more links, the ability to transition out of this with much more ease, honestly, as well. And definitely get a kill on the Nexus as well. Like, even a Spinecrawler rush with a queen over here, like the more standard variation of this particular build, I think would have been really cool to see, but that's not at all what we saw over here. And now, yeah, Shin is... I think he's honestly just behind. I really struggle judging this type of situation often, but the fact that there's so little queens and we already have some type of attack out, that does not bode well for Shin. There's no third base yet either. Double queens will be capable of stopping this Void Ray. No Overlord spread at all. What has been lost so far? 50 links, 4 Overlords, 6 Banes versus 18 probes, 1 Adept and 2 Pylons. Of course, that's not that important, but it's still interesting to see how many links really have died. Adept here is going to get caught. Or maybe these links are being caught. I don't think they're going to get a kill on this Adept. Oh, he cancels the Shade. Well, now they might get a kill. 1 probe, doesn't end up falling either. Shin, once again, is going to lose a couple of links. And that's really frustrating for him because he doesn't have that many links. First Oracle is now out, second Oracle on the way. And this is really the issue that I was thinking about, is the moment that Shin wants to expand towards a third base, he'll need to split his queens across the bases that he has. Currently only has 3 queens. Now, if you have 1 Void Ray and 2 Oracles, there's no way you can split these queens effectively, efficiently, in a way that all 3 bases are going to be defended. So right now, I think the worker count isn't necessarily looking bad for Shin, but I think the queen count is. That's something we usually don't pay attention to, because usually the queen count is just going to be good. It's something that Zergs can't mess up, because queens are separate from the larva mechanic, so they can always build. Creep Tumor here being pushed in forward. Double Oracles now heading over towards the main base, where the second queen isn't even out yet. Spore is there to help out. It's a minor attack here on this hatch. In a way, the double Oracle plus Void Ray perhaps could have started an assault over on that base as well, which would have been kind of sick. Might have been capable of getting a kill there. Now she's going to get two drone kills. I really feel like he could have done more damage here, because this queen wasn't done yet. It was just a single Spore. I think Stats is playing this a little bit too careful with his harassment. Has managed to plug the hole here in this wall. Needs to be careful though that these buildings are not just going to be attacked by the links and that he ends up losing them. Yeah, it's going to need to re-wall this. Gonna end up losing that pylon if he ain't careful. Oracle control hasn't been too hot. It's the one point of criticism that I would have here for Stats. Ooh. Yeah, that really wasn't it. I feel like he missed a couple of shots there. Of course, playing on the big stage, if you haven't been there for a while, it's always going to be nerve-wracking. Only gets 3 kills there. I really feel like there should have been 5 or 6. The amount of shots that he got here, it just wasn't well synced up. They weren't well put together. Sad to see, but the truth. We have this Immortal still out, 46 workers to 49. We have a quick layer coming in, bit of a supply block as well for Shin, which is an unfortunate timing to be supply block, because he really wants to be building more drones. He's getting quite high in the gas already, throws down an Evo chamber. This was all being done of a single gas, by the way, that has been continuously mining, which is kind of crazy, seeing how much gas flotation there really is off of that single gas. Here come the Oracles, once again gonna get 3 kills. I mean, it does add up over time, right? He now has 8 kills total, which is kind of nice. And overall, I still believe that Stats is in a superior position here after kind of that booched early game by Shin. It felt like he had all the tools in hand to get something done, and then he just didn't get it done, which is really crazy to me. Oh well, it is what it is. It is what it is. Blink now on the way as well as +1. So despite the odd start, we're going into a more standard follow-up here with a couple of gateways. Ooh, it's gonna almost lose an Oracle. Couple of gateways, Blink, maybe +1 on the way as well. Yeah, +1 is about to finish up. Over 80% done at this point. The Spire starts for Jesus. I mean, the Spire starts for Shin, not for Jesus. But, I mean, that's just a wild play to make here with this Spire. No? Usually you make a Spire when you can afford to bank a couple of resources. It doesn't feel like Shin is really in the type of position where he can start banking resources right now. This is a very serious move out. We have 18 Stalkers. I mean, there are more Stalkers than there are fighting units on the map currently. That's usually not a very good sign. Because out of those fighting units, 10 are going to be Zerglings. 12 are going to be Zerglings. And yeah, this is not a fight that I really like, in particular for Shin. Shin doesn't quite have that road speed yet either. Doesn't have any upgrades. Well, we do have the +1 on the side of Stats. Stats is pretty all in with this though. He's putting a lot of eggs in this basket, but it looks like a sturdy basket to me, so I don't mind it that much. 60 workers to 63. If this gets pushed back, Shin of course will have an opportunity to maybe make a play and get back into the game. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I don't understand the Spire. Look at the resource count right now here for Shin. Can absolutely afford 0 mutas at this point. Much would have preferred seeing some of that extra gas being put into more roaches, or maybe some of that money into more queens, although he is floating a little bit right now. He's not really adding in anything. I think if you don't have the larva available, at least start a couple of queens so you can continue injecting. Right now you're not really injecting as all queens are pulled to the front, and that is definitely going to be an issue here in the long term. The longer Stats is going to keep on trading, the less units Shin really is going to have. Now 4 queens finally start, but that is fairly late. That needed to be done earlier. Spend that money as soon as it comes in, basically. The moment you pull all your queens in forward. Stalker count extremely high. Has the Oracle just disappeared? No, there's still 2 Oracles around. Don't quite know where they are, but they're still hanging in the dead space here on the bottom side. Could definitely join the fight, but they won't need to. As Stats blinks in forward, and Shin will be forced to tap out with a GG. And here on the second map, we basically have an instant scout coming out of Stats. Look how fast that was. Holy crap. That was the first order here on the menu. Like he just went with this worker across the map. It's gonna show up at 31 seconds. Gets the block on his opponent's natural. That is a serious block there. Shin is gonna move his worker across the map as well. So later scout. So I guess that's going to be for some type of proxy hatch again. Now the question is going to be, is it going to be outside over here? Is it going to be in the base? And to me it looks like it's going to be in the base. There we go. That's a hatch first, by the way. That is absolutely a hatch first here on the other side of the map. This is one of the weaker variations in my mind. Oh, my apologies. And now Stats is doing a phenomenal job here on the blocking. Even gonna let this pylon finish. And it seems wasteful, but I actually think this is the correct play. Because you absolutely do not want your opponent to be capable of getting a hatchery here in his own natural. So Shin is gonna scout that. He's like, okay, there's a pylon there. Understandable. You don't want me to have my natural. I get that. At the same time, we see a Zealot being chrono boosted out. I don't entirely mind that. I think it's actually quite a decent play. Good damage output on the Zealot. It's going to be capable of taking out this hatchery. The links are nowhere close near coming out. Another 25-30 seconds. So the hatch does go down over here on the third base location. This thing is about to be shot as well. There we go. Probe should get back to work. He's going to get a second gas. Can't mine from it quite yet. Now I wonder what the priorities are going to be. So we see a skip so far on the Adept. Next is getting priority over that, as well as the gas mining. And now we're getting our first Adept with the Chrono Boost right away. But that Adept is going to be a solid 15-20 seconds later than we usually see an Adept be. That is something that is interesting to note. Stargate starts quite rapidly as well. We're gonna need another pylon here. I'm afraid that Stats has forgotten about that. Okay, he didn't. Although it is a little bit late, because he's about to be on 31 supply, and then maybe a minor supply block. Actually, I think it's just gonna work out. Fantastic play. Good response so far out of Stats. I do like how he played it. Doesn't want to move across the map with anything. But we have 18 workers to 26 in favor of stats. We have a decently timed Stargate, not a crazy good timing on that Stargate, just, well, you know, just decent, just good enough. I'm not gonna complain about it. Absolutely not. I would have loved to see maybe a Chrono Boost here on that second Adept and some poking, some minor poking, at least until Metabolic Boost finishes up. The Queen count is low. Drones want to be moving towards this base. I feel like he might have been capable of doing something there, but Stats disagrees and he likes the way that he handled this. So you now have 2 Adepts shading across. That's actually going to be quite risky. I'm afraid you might just end up losing that. Because Shin has built quite a few workers. Or quite a few links. So that does scare me. Wants to wait until that Oracle flies across the map. So you see how well Shin is doing this. He's trying to dodge, but barely gets spotted there in the peripheral vision of the Adept. And now it's going to go for the surround. Pulsar Beam will be activated, but both of these Adepts are going to end up falling. And this was a fine trade. 2 Adepts against 9 links. I'd be very happy with this if I were a Zerg player, to be honest. I'd be very, very happy, because you already made the investment into these links. Taking out the Adepts here for this small cost of 9 links. I think, yeah, that's absolutely okay. It's even going to be forced to activate another Pulsar Beam. That's so frustrating here if your stats... And the question now is going to be very simple for Shin, is what are the plans? This is a small map, something like a Queen Walk. It's not unheard of, actually. It is very heard of. We see it all the freaking time. Second Oracle has been produced as well. Third Oracle now on the way. I has activated that Oracle once more. I feel like Stats is really quite conservative here with his Oracle usage. Not necessarily a massive fan of that. He prefers being safe over being aggressive. I'm more of the hero school of thought. Do things quickly, lose stuff, kill stuff. You know, it's a cool way to play. Stats here, gliding by properly. Much better than in that first game, where he really did seem to struggle with the control on the Oracle. 2 more Queens as well about to pop out, as the 4 Adepts are going to shade across the map right now. There's a random drone that could be taken out, but for now is going to survive. And here come the Adepts. What is the overall link count? We're at 14 links. That is absolutely sufficient. I think usually you want 4 links per Adept to have a decent trade as a Zerg player. It's gonna actually jump on this. The energy available on this Oracle isn't sufficient. That means that 2 Adepts are gonna go down instantly. These 2 Adepts are gonna let their shade finish. We have a drone pool away, and Shin is just gonna end up cleaning this up. The double Oracles, meanwhile, now are going to enter the natural space. And there's not a single Queen available. Once again, with that sloppy control here on the Oracles. Really not a fan of how Stats is doing that. Yeah, just really not a fan of that. He did it correct once in this series, but the other times it felt quite sloppy. It really did feel quite sloppy. Now it's taking a bit of hull damage as well, which is not what we want. Lynx trying to take out this pile and will get the kill on it. There we go, it's going to be cancelled. 2 more extractors. 2 more extractors. So 6 extractor Evo chamber while layer is building is fairly standard. We have a Roach Warren? Yeah, we have a Roach Warren. This feels like a like some type of lurker build. Which, I mean, I'm not necessarily... I'm not a lurker hater, you know that? I'm okay with the lurker. Me and the lurker, we vibe, for sure. Would I invite him to my birthday? No. Would I meet him while I'm out already? Do I invite him to my table? Sure, why not? The lurker's fun to hang out with. This guy is pretty decent. Yeah, I'm gonna get the Hydra then as well. Infestation Pit being added soon, probably. As these rocks are now being taken out. Fairly late fort base. We haven't seen any extra drones being added on that either, which is somewhat surprising. This is a great tell, by the way. I always tell this to Protoss players as well, is that when the fort base of the Zerg is about to finish, a good tell of what the Zerg's plans are checking how many workers are moving over to that particular base. So if you see like 3 drones moving over there, that's a little bit suspicious. Because that means that the Zerg is going to be on like 71, 72 workers or so. And do you even need a fort base at that point, is the question. I don't actually know if you do need a fort base at that point. I'd almost say no. I'd almost say no. You don't need a fort base at that point. These Oracles trying to get some damage in. Just flying around for now, not really getting much done. 6 Ravagers on the way. Hydras as well with the Groove Spines. No Hydra speed yet. This is just going to be like an all-in that we could have seen in Wings of Liberty. Like, really, this is, well, I guess you didn't have Ravagers back then, but everything else is very Wings of Liberty-esque, as these rocks are going to be the target, and the oracles are at home producing stasis traps, cannons and batteries being built everywhere, except the base that is about to be under heavy fire. Now, the tail end of this push is going to get caught by the oracles, but we see Shin already moving into position. We have a blink forward. Storm is about to finish up, couple of seconds away from finishing right now. +1 as well done here for our Zerg player, who's entering the natural. Right now. And are there enough Hydras to deal with these oracles? The answer is yes. Links are connecting as well at the same time with these Immortal Storms connecting, though, with a large portion of this force, and no Hydra speed makes it very difficult to control them. Double Archons being morphed here at the same time. Couple of workers are being taken out, but continuous worker production ensures that Stat stays at a decent worker count throughout. As, yes, he lost a bunch of workers, and yes, his opponent's income in army is much, actually... Never mind. Maybe Ragnarok just wins. These Zealots, without the charge, are actually doing God's work here in the mineral line. They're doing so well against these lanes. And, well, actually, Stats is gonna hold. Has managed to continue building workers. It's still not a great situation, but if you're down 40 supply against a pure Roach player, and you have some static defense at, like, 2 out of the 3 vulnerable spots, it's really not that bad, because that means that either the Roaches need to move into a static defense position, or they need to move into a position where the rest of your army is going to be. And Roaches just aren't so great at fighting into static defense. They're actually pretty freaking bad at fighting into static defense. Now, the Ravager can offset that a little bit, of course, by using the Corrosive Bile. Seems like Shin wants to try the same trick once more. None of these Templar, by the way, have Storm available currently. None of these Zealots have Charge available either. This is just pure Roach Ravagers. This Roach attack is now hitting over here on this base. And there's not enough units quite to deal with that. Storm still not available. Okay, on some of these Templar we have Storm available, but it's not quite being used. Zealots are about to die. Here comes the first Storm. Here comes the second Storm. As a Roach gets taken out. Yeah, this is looking real poor here. When it comes to the supply, the problem is that splitting is kind of uncomfortable here for Shin. These Roads are going to get taken out as well by the Stalkers. I love this rotation. I think this is such a good rotation. Stats figuring this out. This rotation is pretty high tier as well, by the way. Ooh, Shin here with some mismovement, I feel like. He's going to get caught from the side, as well as reveals his intentions. Oh, that was kind of sloppy, because he loses a portion of his army there. This Roach force is pushing in. Big Zealot warp in. We have the +2 attack. Armor is now about to finish up. As it feels like Shin is actually not quite getting the damage that he needs. He hasn't built drones in about a decade. Just now starting his +2 range attack. And we have 3-2 upgrades coming out of Stats. And I love good upgrades as much as any other guy, but this is pushing it a little bit. 92 army supply to 38. And he's chrono boosting. Like, all of his attention here is in these upgrades. So he believes he's going to stay alive. I mean, so far he's not wrong. He's hanging on by a thin thread every single time, but he keeps hanging on. He's doing an absolutely phenomenal job here in the defense. But I do have to say that the cannons disappearing over here on the 4th does have me worried a little bit. Extra Templars now being warped in. We already have 4 gathering energy. These I think will morph into Archons perhaps. Or is he actually going to wait until they have the energy? Okay, he's going to wait for the energy. A couple of links now coming in as this Roach is about to be cleaned up. Once again, this doesn't actually look that scary for Stats, despite Stats just being down 100 supply at this point. I think this fight is going to be okay. Ling Roach over here. A single warping perhaps could deal with that. That's a lot of Roaches. This is actually quite scary. Oh, that's some big storms. Those are some really good storms. And now we have a blink in forward as well. Same time, Stalkers being warped in towards the natural. We don't have a battery there. More Zealots coming in from the main base. Blink Stalker Micro. No, it's not going to be utilized here. The Zealot warping comes in clutch. This is going to get pushed back. So this portion of the army is gone. I feel like these Templar have something to do with it, because they disappeared way too quick. Do we have a recall available? No, we don't quite, as the Roaches now are bursting in towards the natural, but it's 147 supply to 109. 3-2 upgrades are about to finish up as well, and once that happens, we're going to have a 3 upgrade lead here for Stats. And then being down 40 supply against a pure Roach player really isn't the end of the world. We also see a potential transition here coming out of Shin with a Baneling Nest +1 melee, but I mean, that feels a little bit late to me. I think if you want to go for this, you're going to have to continue pushing in here. So you have a 5th base now being thrown down as well. So the Lynx are moving towards the bottom side. Archon on the top. Nice pre-split, by the way, on Stats' army. Don't forget, he lost his oracles quite early, and as a result doesn't have so much vision. He's really working with what he has, which isn't a whole lot. But he's doing some damn good work. Prism now starts, as Stats is starting to dream of either a push-out or some counter-harassment. For now, just a dream. He's still down 40 workers, of course. I don't think he's aware what his opponent's eco situation is quite either. Like, does he know that there's no workers here? Does he know that there's no infestation pit yet? That there's no hive, you know? Like, these are big things. Because if you know there's no hive, I don't think you actually want to move across the map. I think you just want to stay home. You just want to throw down storms. You maybe want to add another battery here or there. Because your army is just going to keep getting better and better and better. And your opponent's army is just going to keep on getting worse and worse and worse. Although, that being said, there's not that many Banelings here yet. Storm count's going to be decent. Immortal counted 3, Archon counted 4. Here we go. First Templar in a little bit of trouble. 1 Templar goes down. 2, 3 Storms get cast. Not a great start here of the fight. Good moves by Shin, as he's going to go in for perhaps another attack. Banelings now rolling in, or well, waddling in, I should say, as these Banelings are fairly low on HP without the centrifugal hooks. Also quite slow. Baneling run by over here, taking out 22 workers. I missed that, and so did Stats. A couple more workers are going to end up falling. But that's a serious commitment to the other side of the map. These Banelings not being microed, as the Ravager count is still very high, but the upgrades for these Ravagers just aren't quite there. Immortals pushing in a lot of damage. Prism is gonna get sniped. We have a blink in forward, which is a wild play, but it's a wild play that just might end up working out here. 65 army supply to 45. Lynx now trying to stream in. Archon goes down. That was the final Archon. That means that Lynx now would be the optimal unit to have. But the problem is, I think the Stalker count is a little bit too high. 53 to 36 workers. Shin taps out, and Stats, with a bit of a surprise here, manages to take out his opponent with a 2-0 score. That's not what a lot of people would have expected from this match, as Shin kind of was a player on fire in Stats. Still very much the dark horse in this tournament. You're going to have to wait and see what else he's going to be capable of. It's going to be it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy this very aggressive series of StarCraft 2. And I'll see all of you next time for more videos. Bye-bye.